Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the SeekOut webinar. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the messaging feature. So again, please don't hesitate to interrupt and ask questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. All of our time is going to be spent going over best practices and first how to integrate your messaging. So to do that, we'll log into your SeekOut accounts. So if you'd like to follow along, go ahead and take the time to log in now, and we'll get started. First, we'll go ahead and click on messaging on the left toolbar. And I'm going to disconnect my email so that you can see what it looks like when starting from scratch. Okay, so going back to the dashboard, if we click on messaging, if you have not connected your email yet, this is the screen that you're going to see. And it's going to just have get started and settings. And the first step would be to integrate your email with SeekOut by clicking on connect email account. Now, a couple important things to note is that we won't be saving any of the emails here or sending from SeekOut. We're simply just setting up an integration. So any of the emails that you can use templates in SeekOut to send to candidates will go to and from your Outlook or Gmail account. So we don't get any of the replies. We don't send any messages. We're just helping you with creating campaigns to send multi-step email sequences to candidates. So any of the work that you do today will set you up for the next several weeks, and you can automatically set up follow-ups for any candidates that have not replied to your original emails. All right, so the first step is to connect your email account. So we'll simply click on the blue button, connect email account, and then link an email account. You get two options at this point to either link your email account, which is what we'll be doing today, or you also have the ability to request email account permission to send on behalf of another user. So for example, if I'm working on a high-level job and I feel like the response rates would be better if the emails came from my boss or directly from the hiring manager, you can actually request access to send emails on behalf of another person. They'll get an email saying that you've requested access, and they can choose whether or not to give you that access. If we have time at the end of the session, we can go into this, but for now, we're going to be just going into how to create your email account and send emails directly to the candidates from your email domain. Any steps for, after requesting email account permission would pretty much be the same thing, except you would just select their email address as the send from account instead of your own. So go ahead and click on your email account, click continue. And after a short load time, it will open up a window where you can actually type in your email address that you use for either Outlook or Gmail. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Mike.deeb@seekout.com. Sign in. And you're going to notice at this point, it's going to route me to my Microsoft login. You may get the option to log in using Gmail, Office 365, Exchange, and maybe a couple other options. The first step would be to figure out which email service you have, and then select the appropriate one and log in that way. So I already have my password saved, so I'm just going to go ahead and click sign in. Click yes. And now, at this point, you should be able to reach this screen where we have successfully been able to integrate the email. So I'm just going to pause for a sec and see if anyone has any issues, or if I'm going too fast. Feel free to ask any questions. All right. So now that the email is integrated, the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and set up our email signature. To do that, we're going to click on the three dots to the right, and you'll get a couple of different options below. And the first one available is to create an email signature. Now, for the email signature, probably the best way to do this is to either just type it in, or you can copy and paste your existing signature from your email. And for now, I would recommend not including any images. So for example, I'll just try it. I'm going to copy and paste my email signature over here. And you'll notice that the images have some sort of issue where they're not able to be parsed incorrectly when copying and pasting. So I would recommend just copying and pasting the text. It'll include any hyperlinks that are included, like my LinkedIn, my Calendly link, and any of the text as well. I can use any of the text editing options at the top to make any edits to the font, the color of the font, the size, the font style. I can add links using the link button, basic Word functionality up here, so you can edit the signature as needed. And then for images, it doesn't always work perfectly, but you can go ahead and try to upload them instead. While we're not able to copy and paste them, we are able to upload. And so I will go ahead and just drag and drop the SeekOut logo in here. Click add. And then we get some options to align it, to the center, right, or left of the page. And you'll want to resize it outside of this page to try and get it into the right configuration. We're evaluating new text editors and hope to make the adding of images to this signature easier. But for now, if you face any difficulties, we're aware of the issue, and we're continuing to work on those. So let me try another one. There we go. Great. So I could go ahead and put in the SeekOut logo here. And once the signature looks the way I'd like, I'll go ahead and hit save. And now it's important to note that with the email signature saved here, you don't need to include a signature in any of your templates or any of your other emails. It'll automatically be included, so you don't want to double up on that step. Looks like we got a couple. Okay, great. So for Celine's question, oh, great. And thanks for letting me know that you were able to successfully integrate. To find the email signature, you'll go ahead and click on the three dots under settings by your email and click on edit email signature to add that signature here. All right. And then other options and settings would be to, oh, you're welcome, would be to select which days you want to send these messages. So for me, I prefer to send my emails on weekdays. So you have the option to just never send an email on a weekend, or maybe you don't want to send emails on Friday. You have the option to designate which days you would like to or not like to send emails on from here. So if you want to remove the weekends, you can go ahead and click on Saturday and Sunday or any of the other days of the week. For advanced settings, by default, we have security settings in our messaging integration. So you don't want to, since it's not a good idea to send 1,000 emails all within a split second, we provide a safety feature where if let's say you want to email 100 candidates today, when you click start campaign and start sending those messages, the first email will send out, and then there will be a delay before the second email is sent out. And you can customize it. By default, it's going to be 1 minute or 60 seconds. You can make that either longer or shorter. But so keep in mind that if you send to 100 candidates, it'll take a long time for them to send, because it'll send email 1 now, then wait a minute, then send email 2, wait a minute, send email 3 to the third candidate. So it could be a couple hours for a very large campaign. And then you can also set a send limit per day. We put the default at 1,000 messages per day before you're just not allowed to send anymore, but you can increase or decrease that limit at your convenience using these advanced settings. And then just make sure you click update, and that'll be saved permanently on your account, and you can always update it later. All right, so starting from left to right, if we go to campaigns, this is the page where you're going to be able to see all of your existing campaigns. You probably won't have any here right now, but we'll go ahead and create our first campaign all together as a group. The second tab, and we'll see more here once we create the templates first, but I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of all these different tabs. So all these tabs at the top are clickable. First one, campaigns. Second would be to-do list. So we have, we're able to send emails through here, but you can also set up manual steps, like a reminder to text or call a candidate or to in-mail a candidate. Those would not be an automated function in SeekOut, but we try to help by adding a to-do list of action items. And we'll get into that more once we build the campaign out, but you would be able to see your to-do list of manual steps in this section of to-do. And the next place that we're gonna cover is the templates. So in templates, I have quite a few templates saved already. You might not have any yet if you haven't done this before, but we're gonna create our first template together, and I'll show you how to piece together your own words with variables that will pull directly from the candidate's profile to help with easy messaging of multiple candidates at once without having to take a lot of time. So again, first click on templates, then either click on create template here or here, and we'll start to create our first email template. The first section that you're going to type in is the template name. This is strictly for your organization purposes, and it's just for you to know which job it's for. So let's say, today I'm working on a data analyst position. It's a data analyst email 1 is just the name I want to have for the email, for the template, for when I want to find it later. The second section that we're going to fill in is the subject line. And so we could put in something as simple as job conversation, or great opportunity at SeekOut. Whatever you'd like to put in the subject line is completely up to you. But one of the things that we offer is being able to insert fields or variables. You can do this in the subject line or in the body of the message. But what the insert fields function does is we'll take any of this information directly from the candidate's profile and parse it into this email. So for example, if I was to email myself and I put in the variable full name, it would say Mike Deeb, data analyst, opportunity at SeekOut. Unfortunately, we don't have emojis currently, but it's been requested before, and we hope to add in emojis for these messages. I believe you can copy and paste emojis in here and it'll work, but we don't have an emoji button. Great question, Celine. Thank you. And then once you fill in the subject line, then we can start building out the body of the message. And this is where the fields and the variables really come into play. Again, saving time so you don't have to you can still personalize messages without having to type every single one by hand. So for example, I would say, hi, first name. That would take the first name of the candidate. We can do a fun one, like happy day of the week. And I just saw your profile online, and I really like your experience as a, and then we can go ahead and just parse in addition to the name and the day of the week, we can put in the candidate's title. Just say, I really like your experience as a, and everyone's title may be different, but you can just specify, parse in their title automatically by using the variable here. Maybe you want to put in at their current company, and you'd be a great fit for data analyst role here at SeekOut. And then for my signature, I already put an outro of all the best and my my signature. So I would just end it here and know that the signature is automatically going to be included once I send the messages. So this would be a very basic template. You can feel free to customize it however you'd like using any of these fields, or editing using any of the buttons at the top. We'll click save. And now I'll see that my data analyst email 1 template was created, and I can continue to edit it as I see fit, or just leave it as is. Then we can go ahead and create a second template. Maybe just one that's a follow-up. Maybe this one could be a bit more generic. It doesn't have to be so targeted. We usually recommend sending multiple emails. On average, we'll find a very low response rate of about 5% on a single email cold outreach sent to a passive candidate. But as you start sending the third and fourth and subsequent emails beyond that, the response rates increase dramatically. So we definitely encourage any recruiters and sourcers to use the campaign function, so you don't have to go back and continue to remind yourself of who replied, who didn't. These will automatically follow up and reach out to those same candidates in a cadence that you decide. So for the second step, we could just say, following up, and put in variable, hi, first name. I reached out a few days ago to see if you would be interested in scheduling a time to discuss the data analyst here at SeekOut. And it could be something very short and sweet to the point, just a quick follow-up, try to get them to respond. Click save. And then I've pre-built a template 3 and 4. So if I was to look at template 3 just as an example, I might say, checking in. I know this is the third time I've reached out to you regarding the data analyst role at SeekOut, but your profile looks great. Can you really blame me for trying? Maybe try to get them to laugh a little bit. Just try and get a yes or a no, so you know whether or not to continue reaching out. And then just say, like, I understand you may be busy, you're not interested, but just looking to follow up and have a quick chat. And then for an example, for a fourth email, and you can send as many as you'd like. When I was a recruiter, I would send up to 4. I would maybe do a takeaway as the last message and say, I know this is my 4th email to you within a few short weeks. However, and I won't send any more follow-up emails after this message, so let them know that this is the last time you're going to hear from me for this job. Again, always ask for references and see, I understand that you may not be interested, but who do you know that may be a good fit? Love to speak with them. Also, if your situation changes, I would appreciate you letting me know. So feel free to contact me at any time. And maybe this position isn't the right fit, but if I'm sure there'll be another opportunity further down the road. And if you're looking, then I'd be more than happy to talk about your career goals moving forward. And that way you can just, let them know that you're a real person. You're just looking to have a career conversation with them, really interested in learning more about them and have an interest in their profile, and also being respectful of their time and letting them know that you won't continue to send more and more emails. Just wanted to be diligent and give them every opportunity you could while the position was open. So once you create all of your templates, then we'll hit save. And this is the point where we can start going to campaigns and piece them all together and build out that sequence. So we got another question, and the question was, can we put images in the mail? And the answer is yes. The same thing, this is the same text editor as before. But if we wanted to, let's say, oh, I've got a little picture of a snowman I'll put in. Like if I wanted to put this picture of the snowman that we built during the winter, we can go ahead and put any images we'd like in here, and they'll parse over. So feel free to use any images, any links, using any of the options here. You can insert a link, image, color of the text, font, etc. All right. So now that we've built our 4 templates, let's go ahead and navigate over to campaigns. And we'll go ahead and start a brand new campaign and piece together the templates that we just created. So let's click on New Campaign in the blue text at the top right corner of the screen. You get several options. We're going to be creating a new campaign, but we also have, just quickly touch on this, we actually have playbooks internally that you can use. For example, like a starter playbook with 6 steps, cold outreach with 2 follow-ups, hiring for a startup role. These are playbooks that are pre-built in the platform. If you prefer to use one of the ones that we have available, by all means, use a playbook. If you want to use your own messaging, follow the steps that I used for creating a template and piecing together on your own. So you can review what the playbooks look like by expanding here. If you want to use that, simply just say create from playbook and follow the steps. Today, we'll go over how to create a campaign from the templates we just created. So for now, go ahead and click on create new campaign. And this is for my data analyst position. You can add a description if you'd like, but it's completely optional. You can leave that blank. But if you'd like to put a position description or anything else in there, by all means, please do. All right, so we've created our campaign and just added a name. And now the first page you're going to see is build your campaign. And just like I mentioned before, you'll get the best response if you have 4 or more steps. The response rates increases as you add more emails. Keep your messages short. This is important because most candidates are going to be seeing your email for the first time on their mobile device. Most people nowadays will end up looking at their email on their phone. So you want to make sure that your messages are easy to digest and understand on a small screen. So keeping your messages short will be helpful. We usually don't recommend copying and pasting whole job descriptions. It can get really jumbled up and hard to read. And another point is that you'll give them more things to say no to. We really want to get a yes or a no and start a conversation and not have the candidate decide just from the first email whether or not they want to reply. We'd love for them to reply even if it's a no. I think that's still a win, just so we know where they stand. And then also show your personality. Use your own voice. Show that you're a real person and not just a robot that's trying to recruit people. We have automation in here to help make it easier for you, but you know, showing your personality in the messages also increases your response rates. So we can build out our campaign steps by clicking Add First Step. So let's go ahead and do that now. And on this pop-up, you'll get the option between things that are automated, like email message and template, or manual steps. And so the designation between these is what I mentioned with the to-do list. So sending an email message that you can create from scratch is an option that we could take. But since we created templates all together as a group, I would recommend using the template function to set up a multi-email sequence. And then for the manual steps, these would just be added to your to-do list to see just to remind you of, after this email, I want to call, or I would like to text, or I would like to send an email, or I would like to send a LinkedIn request. SeekOut does not integrate with LinkedIn and does not integrate with any calling or texting platform. So these would be manual steps that you would have to do outside of SeekOut, but you can just set reminders in here. One thing to note is that if you have a call or a text step and you try to add a candidate to a campaign that you don't have a phone number for, it won't allow you to add the candidate at all. So until we fix that, I would probably recommend just not using the call and text step for now, just in case some of those candidates don't have a phone number, and just stick to the ones that we currently integrate with, which are the automated steps. And so we've got a question from Rick. SeekOut has the first name of a candidate wrong in the database. Is there any way to correct it before sending? Unfortunately, we can't edit the names of the profiles. So that is one thing to keep in mind when using variables for first name or full name. We're going to parse in exactly what the candidate has put on their profile. And that actually applies for the current title and the current company as well. So if they put their current company in all caps, or if they put in their full name, their letters for their degree, those things, if you put a variable, will be included. And we don't currently have a way of editing that out when using the variables in a campaign. So just be mindful of that. Review the candidate before adding them to the campaign, and just make sure that there's not going to be anything that's going to show up weird. And then for those, I would probably recommend sending a one-off message using our quick email, which I can cover after this. So since we created templates, we'll go ahead and select the template feature. So I'm going to click on here, add step. And now you're going to see all the templates that I've created are going to be right here on the left-hand side of the screen. And so the one that we just did today was the data analyst email 1. I'm going to go ahead and say use this template. And now you're going to see the template that I created parsed in this page right here for our first email. As you build out subject lines, we partner with an online resource to test out subject lines. And this one has an A, probably because I added this variable. But as you tweak the messaging in here, you can see how that updates, and see, like, without personalizing it, it went down to a C rating. So just something to be mindful of. This is something that we use to try and help you with your open rates. A subject line will correlate to an open rate. So if you have a good subject line that's makes people want to open your message, then you'll probably see a much higher percentage of people opening your emails. Whereas the body of the message, as well as many other variables, will contribute more to the reply rate, as well as how many messages that you send and the location and everything. So if you want to know how good your subject line is, just use the subject score feature up here, and we'll give you a rating. All right, and then the body of the message I've already built out. So it'll pull in the first name, day of the week, title, company. Now the first email will send as soon as I add candidates and click start campaign. So we don't have to set up any other steps with this. This is already good to go. Once we built our first email step, then we can add additional steps. And so we'll just click on add a step. Again, we'll select template. And now I'm going to select my email template for the follow-up that we created together. And on the subsequent emails after the first one, you get more options. So this is where you can actually set a cadence on when you want to send the follow-up message. So if today is Tuesday, then I might want to send a message on Thursday. So I would say, if I don't get a reply from the first email, I want to send this follow-up in 2 days from now. And I can specify 2 days. I could say hours, weeks, months. It's completely up to you. You have full ability to edit the frequency of the emails as they go out. And keep in mind that this will only go out to the candidate if they don't reply to the first email. If they reply, then the sequence stops and they don't get any follow-ups, but this just helps prevent that step of having to go back and forth and reach out to the same candidates you reached out to before. So I have my subject line, got the body of the message. I'm using a new subject line that says following up. If I wanted to, I could just send a reply message to the first step and say, reply, full name, data analyst opportunity at SeekOut. So you have that designation here when you click the checkbox to use a new subject line or to reply to the original thread. All right, and then continuously adding steps to get up to 4 emails. I'll use my 3rd email template. And since the 2nd email sending on Thursday, maybe I want to send it on Wednesday of the following week. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So 7 days later, I'll click save. So if they don't reply to this step 2, then 7 days later, I'll send step 3. And then again for step 4, I'll do this takeaway message, and maybe I'll take out the huge picture of the snowman for this one. And I'll say, 5 days later, I want to send email 4 if I don't hear back on step 3. And so that's how you create the campaign. This is the reason why I prefer building the templates first. It's because you can just quickly piece them together in order. And then if you have a new job that you're working on, maybe you're working on the software engineering role tomorrow, then you can just change the template to say software engineer opportunity, and just make minor edits to the messaging to cater to your specific role that you're working on, and then piece them all together and have a multi-step sequence going out. Is the subject scoring free forever with your SeekOut subscription? Yes, it is. And how does SeekOut know if there's a reply if the emails are going out through my Outlook? Oh, good question. So if we go to settings, then we have the opportunity to track. So we partner with a third-party email integration provider called Nihilus, and they track the email statistics of opens and replies. We don't get the content of the emails, so we don't actually get to read any of the replies or know what was said. We're just able to track whether or not it was opened or replied to or bounced. If you don't want to have tracking, you can absolutely turn it off in the settings for that campaign here. And then I think we had another question. Can we attach a document? Yes, you can. So let's edit the step. And we'll click on attach files, and then you'll be able to add any pictures or files that you'd like to add in using the attach file feature. All right. Okay, now that we've pieced together the 4 emails, we'll need to add candidates to the campaign. But first, I was actually going to segue over to settings. So in the settings, you can choose what was just asked about tracking. You can turn off tracking if you prefer to not have the open and reply rate tracked. But then also you have the opportunity to choose whether or not you'd prefer to send to a personal address or a work address. By default, SeekOut will prioritize a personal email address. So, by default, we'll just send to the personal email we have available. But you can specify if you'd rather send to the work address, or if we don't have a personal email address and you never want to send to anyone's work, you can select this option as well and say, if the preferred email address type is not available, don't send to the other address type. And that would prevent us from even being able to send to the work email. You could BCC yourself on these by adding in a blind copy for the whole campaign. And you also have the option, I showed you where to add your signature, which is automatically included in every email, but if you'd prefer to put the signature in the template instead, you can choose to not include the email signature within the campaign in the advanced settings. Additionally, we have this last option in settings where you can specify what time you want to send the message. By default, it's set to send the campaign as soon as you hit start campaign, but you can select a specific time and it shows the time zone that you're in, or you can specify best time. And this will choose a time within the business hours of the candidate that you're reaching out to. So whichever preference is best for you, you can select from any of the available options below. All right. So if you have any manual steps, again, they'll show up in this to-do section. But now that we've got our campaign built out with 4 steps, we'll need to add candidates. So at this point, we'll go ahead and navigate over to one of our projects on the Projects tab. And we'll go ahead and use the most recent one that I built out. And we've got 5 candidates in here. I'm going to go ahead and you'll need to get the email for these candidates first. If you have a call or a text step, you will have to get the phone number first as well, or else we won't be able to add them to the campaign. So as we go through, you'll see that some of these have multiple emails. So for Harry, he's got 5 email addresses. The one first on the list is the one that's going to be used. And so this by default is the priority email and it's shown first. But if you'd prefer to use a different email, you can specify by clicking on it and saying, I'm going to use this address first in the message campaign, and you'll see it highlighted to designate that you're going to use this email instead. You can also provide feedback directly to our product team and let us know if we have any bad email addresses as we continue to optimize the platform. So we've got emails for these candidates. Looks like we've just got 3 in here. And to add them to the messaging campaign, I can go ahead and select more, add all candidates to messaging campaign, or I can select them individually one by one and add just the ones that I selected to the messaging campaign. But for this one, I'm just going to add the whole project. Once you select add all to messaging campaign, you'll get this pop-up to designate which campaign you'd like to add them to. And we'll add it to the most recent one we just created, the data analyst, for this demo today. And now we'll see that the candidates were added. If there's any that we did not have contact info for, we won't be able to add them in. So now we can go to the campaign and we'll see in the candidates tab that we now have the 2 candidates that we had emails for added. The other one, I specified that I don't want to send to a work email. They only had a work email available. That's why only 2 parsed over rather than the 3. And so now you'll see Dennis and Harry. We have the email address that we're sending to here. The status is not started yet because I have not hit start campaign. But then as the sequence goes through, you're going to get, unless you turn off that setting of tracking, you're going to see what the status is for each step. So you're going to see whether they're opening or replying on the first, second, third, or subsequent emails right on this candidates page. Now, when you hit start campaign, then these emails will go out to these candidates within 20 minutes after you hit start campaign. So again, the steps would be put the steps together of all the templates into the campaign, add the candidates from a project, then click start campaign, and then we have a 20-minute delay to make sure that you are able to make any edits before the first email is sent. And then the first email would send to Dennis, and then wait a minute, and then send to Harry, and then wait another minute, and then send to each person one by one with a minute gap in between because of how we have our campaign settings set up with the spacing out between emails. And okay, we have another question, non-messaging question. Do credits roll over monthly? No, credits don't roll over monthly. So for every user, you get 500 contact credits a month. If we go to the dashboard, you'll see the date that they'll reset each month. For me, it's the 11th. So next month on the 11th, I'll have 500 contact credits again. Mine is different. I've added add-on credits to mine as a SeekOut employee, so mine's above 500, but you can see how many contact credits you have remaining here. You can also see a live view in the drop-down menu here. And if you click on your account info, you can see the designation between how many your monthly credits you've used and then how many you have from add-on packs. So your monthly credits will just refresh up to 500, but they don't roll over any unused ones. Add-on packs do roll over month to month. So if I have an add-on pack, I buy contact credits as an add-on, those will only be used after I use my included credits. And if I don't use any of these, they roll over indefinitely every month. All right. Great. So that covers the campaigns. In case you're not able to integrate, or if you'd like to send a one-off message, then you can do so by just sending a quick email to candidates. And this does not require an integration. But let's say, for example, if I go back to this project and I want to email Joseph Arnold, I can simply, instead of clicking add to campaign, I can use the quick email function instead, and this will just send a one-off email to the candidate. So I'll see my list of templates available here. I'll see the candidate's email, and I'll use that first one, data analyst email 1. And now I can, without having to copy and paste anything, I can just click open an email, and it'll open up directly in my Outlook. I'd rather use the signature in Outlook, so I would use the default signature here, and then I can, one of the benefits here is, like for your example, Rick, where the name was wrong on the candidate, quick email might be the way to go because you can actually edit it before you send it out to each individual candidate.